The 6,000 years of work of God's management are divided into 3 stages: the age of law, the age of grace, and the age of kingdom. These 3 stages of work are all for the sake of mankind's salvation, which is to say, they are for the salvation of a mankind that has been severely corrupted by Satan. At the same time, however, they are also so that God may do battle with Satan. Thus, just as the work of salvation is divided into 3 stages, so the battle with Satan is also divided into 3 stages. And these 2 aspects of God's work are conducted simultaneously. The battle with Satan is actually for the sake of mankind's salvation. And because the work of mankind's salvation is not something that can be successfully completed in a single stage, the battle with Satan is also divided into phases and periods, and war is waged upon Satan in accordance with the needs of man and the extent of Satan's corruption of him. Perhaps in man's imagination, he believes that in this battle, God will take up arms against Satan, in the same way that 2 armies would fight each other. This is only something that man's intellect is capable of imagining, and is a supremely vague and unrealistic idea. Yet it is what man believes. And because I say here that the means of man's salvation is through the battle with Satan, man imagines that this is how the battle is conducted. In the work of man's salvation, 3 stages have been carried out, which is to say that the battle with Satan has been split into 3 stages prior to the complete defeat of Satan. Yet the inner truth of the entire work of the battle with Satan is that its effects are achieved through bestowing grace upon man, and becoming a sin offering of man, forgiving the sins of man, conquering man, and making man perfect. As a matter of fact, the battle with Satan is not the taking up of arms against Satan, but the salvation of man, the working of the life of man, and the changing of man's disposition so that he may bear testimony to God. This is how Satan is defeated. Satan is defeated through changing the corrupt disposition of man. When Satan has been defeated, that is, when man has been completely saved, then the ashamed Satan will be completely bound, and in this way, man will have been completely saved. And so, the substance of man's salvation is the battle with Satan, and the war with Satan is primarily reflected in the salvation of man. The stage of the last days, in which man is to be conquered, is the last stage in the battle with Satan, and also the work of man's complete salvation from the domain of Satan. The inner meaning of man's conquest is the return of the embodiment of Satan, man who has been corrupted by Satan, to the Creator following his conquest, through which he will forsake Satan and completely return to God. In this way, man will have been completely saved, and so the work of conquest is the last work in the battle against Satan, and the final stage in God's management for the sake of Satan's defeat. Without this work, the full salvation of man would ultimately be impossible. The utter defeat of Satan would also be impossible, and mankind would never be able to enter the wonderful destination, or get free from Satan's influence. Consequently, the work of salvation of man cannot be concluded before the battle with Satan is concluded. For the core of the work of God's management is for the sake of mankind's salvation. Earliest mankind was in the hands of God, but because of Satan's temptation and corruption, man was bound up by Satan and fell in the hands of the evil one. Thus, Satan became the object to be defeated in the work of God's management. Because Satan took possession of man, and because man is the stock of all God's management, if man is to be saved, then he must be snatched back from the hands of Satan, which is to say that man must be taken back after having been held captive by Satan. Satan is defeated through changes in man's old disposition that restore his original sense. And in this way, man, who has been taken captive, can be snatched back from the hands of Satan. If man is freed from the influence and bondage of Satan, Satan will be shamed, man will ultimately be taken back, and Satan will be defeated. And because man has been freed from the dark influence of Satan, man will become the spoils of all of this battle, and Satan will become the object that will be punished once this battle has finished, after which the entire work of mankind's salvation will have been completed.